how do you respond to people who say, I am pro-choice, but I'm against abortion?
You're pro-choice, but you're pro-abortion. That's not, to me, that's not unlike someone saying, saying that, well, let me tell you something poignant. When I first went back to visit my relatives in the old country, I'm American, my parents were born here, I'm born here, but we've always kept up, we managed to keep up during the unpleasantness of the 20th century with the old country. Well, I went back for the first time, I was about 23, and my cousin had a tavern. And everybody would come to the tavern. After a beer or two, they would say, my father was the Jews' best friend. Well, as I said earlier, there were 300 Jews in our town. 3 survived the war. And to say I'm pro-choice, or rather I'm anti-abortion but pro-choice, that's like saying, well, I love the Jews, but the Nazis kept the trains running on time. Mm-hmm. That's what that is to say. Try that on them.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Lori.
She's writing it down as we speak, as we all are. Father Simon is our guest, Father Richard Simon. We're talking about faith and the voting booth, 877-766-3777. It's 14 minutes before the hour. This is Morning Air. It's Thursday, October 2nd. Our special guest this morning, Father Richard Simon. He's the pastor at St. Lambert's Parish in Skokie, Illinois, taking your calls and questions about faith and the voting booth. 877-766-3777, 877-766-3777.
And let's see, who do we have?
Phil?
Is Phil with us? Do we have Phil? We don't have Phil. Lloyd is with us in Green Bay, listening to Relevant Radio 1050 AM. Hi, Lloyd. You're on the air with Father Simon.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
Certainly.
I am a Catholic independent.
Good.
I told someone that on the phone one time when they called, and they said, "A what?" And I told them, I have no affiliation to any party. I'm a Catholic, and I vote my religion.
Odd.
Any candidate that does not believe in life from its natural beginning to its natural end, anything they have to say after that means nothing to me. Yeah. Nothing. Yeah, well, nothing else matters.
Yeah. Well, good. Vote Catholic. That's what I meant. There's parties come and parties go, but the word of the Lord endures forever.
How can people worry about if it's all right to kill a baby, it's all right to do anything else they want to you?
Well, you're preaching to the choir here. My sense is that the killing of a child is just about the most heinous thing that can happen, especially an unborn child, the most defenseless of the innocent. So, it's nuts. But the idea of voting, that's a good answer. That when they say, well, what party are you? I'm Catholic. Well, how are you going to vote? I'm going to vote Catholic. And you line up the issues. And I think there are Catholic economic issues. I think that's real important to understand. None of these things are divorced from that long pontification I made in the last segment. None of these things are divorced. We've become so driven by economy and materialism that we have ceased to understand the purpose of life is to give life. The purpose of life is not to enjoy life. It is to give life. I came that you might have life and have it more fully, Jesus said. He didn't say, I came to visit your lovely planet. That the purpose of life is to give life. The purpose of life is to live. And, there's lots of ways we violate that. And unfortunately, we have become such a materialist country. And I think that violation of the Sabbath is part of it. There's no time at which the making of money is not allowed.
We're talking with Father Richard Simon, 877-766-3777. That's 877-766-3777.
And Jane is listening in Evanston, Illinois to Relevant Radio AM 930. Hi, Jane. Welcome to the program. You're on the air with Father Simon. Go right ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Father, I'm very interested in your opinion of one of the candidates that's running for president wants to pass as their first act as president the Freedom Act. And how will that impact all faiths, not just the Catholic physicians, and how will this impact us as a society?
Well, for our listeners, describe the act that he wants to pass.
The Freedom Act takes away actually it's kind of ironic because it takes away the freedom. It's all abortions on demand.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, now a physician who might be Catholic or an Orthodox Jewish rabbi or whatever, as physicians cannot, they can say, gee, I really, this is against my faith. I can't perform an abortion or a sex change or all of these what I call demonic acts.
Mm-hmm.
are now the person has a choice. They may be sued, but they have a choice. Hospitals will not have a choice anymore, or they'll lose. Catholic hospitals will lose all public funding for Medicare, Medicaid, so they'll basically go out of business.
Well, if a candidate has said that, it certainly makes it harder for me to vote for that candidate. Much harder. I hesitate to speak because I'm not a bishop, not because I'm afraid of bishops, but that problem is that there's room for discussion until the bishops in an area say so. They're the ones responsible for what we believe. I got a question: what should a priest do about the distribution of communion issue? And I answered what his bishop tells him. And if the bishops of an area agree on something, well, that's pretty much what your bishop's going to tell you, unless the Holy Father in Rome says otherwise or confirms it. So Catholics are kind of slow. The press is quick to decide these things. Catholics are kind of slow to decide, and that's why we've been around for a couple thousand years. We walk out on the thin ice very gingerly. But just as a personal citizen of the United States, if I hear that one candidate is going to take away a doctor's freedom to be a moral man and use economic coercion for it, that would make me think that person, forget the abortion issue, it's the freedom issue. They are opposed to freedom, which is so precious to Americans. So I think that's a real important thing. So I would encourage the listeners, and those who hear Jane, that's a great point, Jane. I would encourage you to go to your computers and Google up the Freedom Act and really research it and let your friends know about this and have them make an informed decision about their vote, including this outrageous idea that has been promised. So I hope that answers your question.
All right. Well, thank you. Were we talking to Jane? I think we were.
Jane.
Thank you, Jane.
Jane.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep track.
Just go to your computers, Google the Freedom Act, be informed, and vote Catholic.
All right. Well, Father, I think we'll leave it there, and thanks for stepping out on this limb and letting us saw it off behind you.
Yeah, really. But vote Catholic. That's all I can say. Vote Catholic.
And don't forget, Sean's house for Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah,
That's right.
I'll wander up there like I'll walk the rails up to.
Okay.
All right. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Was